Stop watching this video right now if you're just here to feel inspired. Because inspiration is the drug that keeps men weak. It gives you emotion without execution, hope without teeth, momentum that dies the moment the screen goes dark. Here's the dark truth no one tells you. Motivational videos are not making you stronger. They're training you to delay action, and Machiavelli would have despised that. Stay with me, because what I'm about to give you will permanently end your dependence on motivation and replace it with something far more dangerous. Control. Be honest. How many motivational videos have you watched this month without real results? Comment enough if you're done consuming and ready to execute. Chapter 1. The Motivation Trap. Why watching more is making you weaker. Let's start with a painful admission most men avoid. You don't lack motivation. You lack command over yourself. And the modern world has found a brilliant way to exploit that weakness. Motivation content feels productive. It sounds like progress. It looks like discipline. But it's none of those things. It's stimulation. A hit of dopamine disguised as growth. You watch a video. You feel charged. You nod. You agree. You imagine a stronger version of yourself. And then, nothing changes. Machiavelli understood something brutal about human nature. Men confuse emotion with action and pay the price for it. In The Prince, he observed that people admire bold intent, but only power respects results. Intent without execution is invisible in the real world. That's the trap you're in. Modern motivation culture trains you to consume instead of act, feel instead of build, plan instead of execute. You become a spectator to your own potential. Now, pause for a second. This next part matters. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If motivation actually worked, you would already be unstoppable. But you're not, because motivation wears off. Discipline doesn't. Machiavelli would never tell a man to feel ready. He would tell him to move while unprepared, because action creates clarity. Action creates confidence. Action creates power, not the other way around. Let's go deeper. Why do motivational videos feel so addictive? Because they give your brain the illusion of progress without risk. No failure, no resistance, no cost. You don't have to confront your weakness. You don't have to face rejection. You don't have to endure boredom or pain. You just watch. And every time you choose watching over doing, your identity shifts. Quietly, invisibly, toward passivity. Machiavelli warned rulers about this exact pattern. He wrote that men lose states not through sudden collapse, but through gradual softness. Comfort replaces vigilance. Talk replaces action. Ceremony replaces force. That same decay happens inside you. You start saying, "I'll start tomorrow. I just need the right plan. One more video, then I'll act." That's not preparation. That's avoidance. And the most dangerous part. The world rewards men who act before they feel ready, and forgets those who wait. Let me tell you a story Machiavelli would appreciate. When Machiavelli was exiled from political life, stripped of status and power, he didn't sit around getting motivated. He wrote, every day, in isolation, in obscurity, without validation. He built leverage quietly while the world ignored him. The Prince wasn't written from inspiration. It was written from discipline, under silence. That's the model, but modern men do the opposite. They seek noise, applause, external fuel. They want someone else to light the fire. Machiavelli would call that dependence a fatal flaw. Because the man who requires motivation is controllable, the man who requires nothing is feared. Here's another truth most creators won't tell you. Motivational content survives because it doesn't demand change. Action protocols do. And that's why this video is dangerous, if you follow it. Because I'm not going to hype you up. I'm going to strip you down. Ask yourself this honestly. When was the last time you executed something difficult without feeling inspired? When was the last time you acted purely because it was required, not because you felt like it? When was the last time you chose boredom over comfort? If those questions make you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is your mind waking up. Machiavelli believed that strength is forged when illusion collapses. When men stop lying to themselves about who they are and start acting like who they must become. And here's the pivot point. Motivation tells you, wait until you feel ready. Power says, move now, adjust later. Motivation is emotional. Power is procedural. Which brings us to the real shift. In the next chapter, I'm going to give you Machiavelli's action protocol, a system that replaces motivation with rules, emotion with structure, and hesitation with force. No hype, no speeches, no waiting, just execution. But only if you're ready to stop watching and start becoming. Chapter 2, Machiavelli's Action Protocol, How Ruthless Men Execute. Without motivation. Now listen carefully. This is where everything changes. Most men fail not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because they rely on emotion to decide when to act. Machiavelli would consider that suicidal. He believed power is maintained by systems, not feelings, by rules, not moods, by structure, not inspiration. So if you want to stop watching motivational videos forever, you need to replace motivation with something colder. You need an action protocol, a set of rules you obey regardless of how you feel. Let's break it down. This is where most men get it backward. They wait to feel confident before acting. They wait to feel motivated before starting. They wait to feel ready. Machiavelli would laugh at that. He understood that confidence is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite. Here's the psychological truth. Your brain creates emotion to justify behavior, not the other way around. You act. Your brain adapts. Emotion follows. Not acting keeps your identity weak. Acting forces your identity to evolve. That's why ruthless men move before clarity. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, is this required? And if the answer is yes, they move. No debate, no inner dialogue, just execution. Choice is where weakness hides. Every time you wake up and decide whether to work, train, study, or build, you open the door to excuses. Machiavelli believed laws exist to remove personal weakness from decision-making. You need the same internally. Ruthless men operate by non-negotiable laws. For example, training happens at a fixed time, no discussion. Work begins at a fixed hour, no mood check. Distractions are removed by default, not willpower. You don't decide daily, you obey. This is why motivation becomes irrelevant, because you're not choosing anymore. You're executing a sentence already passed. Pause for a second. Studies on habit formation show that people who tie behavior to identity-based rules are dramatically more consistent than those who rely on goals or motivation. Translation: men who say, I don't negotiate with myself, outperform men who say, I'll try. Machiavelli would call this sovereignty. Weak men avoid discomfort. Strategic men schedule it. Machiavelli understood that pain is unavoidable, but timing is controllable. If you avoid pain now, it compounds later. If you absorb it early, it buys freedom. This is why ruthless men wake earlier than necessary. Train when tired, work when bored, build when unnoticed, not because it feels good, but because it creates leverage. Pain is a currency. Spend it early and you gain power later. Spend it late and it destroys you. Motivation teaches you to chase comfort. Action protocols teach you to master discomfort. Here's another trap. Men get overwhelmed by big goals. That's amateur thinking. Machiavelli never focused on distant dreams. He focused on daily positioning. Ruthless men don't ask, Will I win this year? They ask. What must be executed today, no matter what? Your job is not to finish the war today. Your job is to win today's battle. One brutal workout, one focused work block, one uncomfortable task avoided yesterday. That's it. Momentum is built through daily proof, not future fantasies. And here's the key. When you stack enough executed days, motivation becomes unnecessary, because identity takes over. You don't need motivation to be who you already are. This rule alone will separate you from most men. Motivational videos, podcasts, constant input, they all feel productive, but they dilute focus. Machiavelli valued silence because silence sharpens intent. Ruthless men consume less and produce more. They don't need constant reassurance. They don't need external voices. They operate from internal command. If you're always consuming, you're never leading, which brings us to the real shift. Motivation is external. Action protocols are internal. One makes you dependent, the other makes you dangerous. Perfectionism is just fear in a clean outfit. Machiavelli knew that hesitation kills more plans than failure ever will. Ruthless men act quickly, then adjust. They don't wait for certainty. They create certainty through movement. If something fails, they correct it. If it works, they double down. But they never stall, because stalling is decay. And here's the harsh truth. A flawed action today beats a perfect plan next month. Every time. This is where the transformation locks in. You are not who you think you are. You are what you repeat. Ruthless men don't find themselves. They build themselves through enforced behavior. Do the hard thing daily. Your self-image will follow. Avoid it daily. Your self-image will collapse. Machiavelli understood that reputation, internal or external, is shaped by consistent action. Your mind is no different. Chapter 3. Execution without emotion. The ruthless implementation. This is where separation happens. Everything you've heard so far means nothing unless you implement it immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now. Because Machiavelli understood a brutal truth most men refuse to accept. Delay is a decision, and it's almost always the wrong one. So in this final chapter, I'm giving you a clear, ruthless implementation plan you can apply in the next 24 hours. Without motivation, without hype, without excuses, no inspiration, just enforcement. Every powerful man lives under law, not external law, internal law. Tonight, or as soon as this video ends, you write down 3 non-negotiable daily rules. Not goals, rules. Examples. I train every morning no matter how I feel. I work in focused silence for 2 hours before checking my phone. I complete the hardest task first, every day. These rules are not flexible. They are not emotional. They are enforced. You are not asking your feelings for permission anymore. You are issuing commands. This is the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. Weak men rely on willpower. Ruthless men design environments. Machiavelli didn't trust human nature. He controlled conditions. You must do the same. Within the next 24 hours, remove distracting apps from your phone. Set fixed times for work, training, and sleep. Prepare your workspace the night before. Eliminate friction between you and execution. If you have to decide whether to act, you've already lost. Your environment should push you forward, even when your mind resists. That's how discipline survives bad days. Here's something almost no one tells you. The longer you think, the weaker you become. Ruthless men act before internal debate begins. When it's time to work, you start. When it's time to train, you move. When resistance appears, you ignore it. Not because resistance disappears, but because it's irrelevant. You are not here to feel good. You are here to build leverage, and leverage comes from action, repeated under pressure. This is critical. Results take time. Obedience is immediate. Every night, ask yourself one question. Not, did I feel productive? Did I make progress? Did I enjoy it? Just obedience. Because when obedience becomes your standard, progress becomes unavoidable. Machiavelli didn't measure success by comfort. He measured it by control. Control over self comes first. Here's the final psychological shift. Motivation addicts need stimulation. Ruthless men tolerate boredom. Boredom means you're no longer chasing dopamine. It means you're no longer dependent on emotion. It means you're operating on command. And that's dangerous, in the best possible way. If you can work without excitement, train without hype, and improve without applause, you've become unstoppable. Let's bring this back to the beginning. You were told to stop watching motivational videos. Not because motivation is evil, but because dependence is. Motivation makes you reactive. Action protocols make you sovereign. When you stop waiting to feel ready, you move faster. You think clearer. You become calmer. You intimidate life itself. Because the world is built for men who act, not men who wait. And once you internalize this, you don't need another video. You don't need another quote. You don't need another push. You become the force. If this video hit something deep, if you felt uncomfortable, exposed, or called out, that's your signal. Comment, execute, below if you're done waiting. If you want more ruthless strategies grounded in Machiavelli's philosophy, strategies for discipline, for focus and dominance over self, subscribe. Not for motivation, for protocol, because from this moment on, you don't consume inspiration. You enforce action, watch less, execute more, and never negotiate with weakness again.